Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new channel called Learning MMA. My name is Will Armatis. I'm from Nebraska and I'm really passionate about MMA and UFC. So I decided I'd make a channel on it, kind of learn everything about it while we go, and hopefully I can, start getting the hang of this and see where it leads me. I really do enjoy it. I'm really passionate about it, and hopefully you guys will subscribe and I can continue to put out these videos and continue to do these. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So next week in May, we have Jiří Procházka against Glover Teixeira. I mean, this is going to be a very interesting fight. I mean, you got a guy who transitioned from a amazing striker to now a submission artist, and you got a young guy in Jiří Procházka who's just an absolute knockout artist. I mean, watching his last fight against Dominic Reyes was just incredible to me. I mean, he's just so quick and he's so fast, and then watching Glover just catch Jan with a cross and then get that takedown and that submission. I mean, both of these guys really are dangerous in their own way. But, obviously there can only be one winner. So after going and watching both their fights, I'm going to make some pros and cons assessments of their last fights each. Jiří obviously won over Dominic Reyes via TKO in the second round, and Glover won with a submission over Jan in the second round. So both with round 2 submissions. I mean, Jiří was just throwing against Dominic Reyes pretty much. I mean, I'm surprised Dominic Reyes didn't drop. And then with Glover, he basically had control the entire round 1 on the ground, but didn't do too much on it. Got a couple good shots. I mean, the majority of round 1 was on the ground, and then Glover, of course, got him in round 2 with an excellent submission and ground transition. So, after watching both those fights, I'm going to go over their pros and cons. Let's start with Glover. I mean, pros, he's turned into an excellent ground game person. I mean, you could just see against Jan, he was getting some great shots in round 1. Excellent takedowns, and he's very strong. If you look at the first takedown against Jan, he just picks him up and takes him to the ground. I mean, I wasn't expecting that, that's for sure, coming from a 42-year-old guy, but he picks him up and he takes him to the ground and just punishes him the entire round. And one of the things I really do like about Glover is he makes people back up into the cage and then he's able to get the takedown. I mean, that's something that is very powerful. He takes control of the octagon right away, pushes them to the outside, and he looks for that takedown. He throws that overhand, then ducks down and gets the single leg. But that's also a con in a way because he's just ducking his head down, which could easily come from an uppercut from Jiří at any time. And it's just a really sketchy thing when you have an amazing striker like Jiří. And I think Glover's going to need to mix up the takedown game a little bit. I don't think he can do what he did against Jan, where he just throws a wild overhand and then pushes him up against the cage and gets the takedown. I mean, he kind of was throwing wildly for a couple of those takedowns. His game is pretty easily predictable once you start figuring it out. And I hate to say it, even though Glover's 42, but he is slow. I mean, he's not the striker that he was. You can see in his punches, I mean, he's pulling his punches. You can tell when they're coming. It's like he's winding them up. Now, moving on to Jiří, I mean, he's just a scary guy. I mean, if you're standing toe-to-toe with him with that hairstyle, I mean, at this point, you're just waiting to get knocked out. He's quick. He fights on his toes. He's got a unique fighting style. He's super unpredictable. One of the important things I saw in the Dominic Reyes fight is he knows how to counter the kick. I mean, Dominic Reyes was throwing all kinds of calf kicks and body kicks and head kicks even, and he was blocking every single one of them. I mean, Jiří's just so explosive, especially when Dominic Reyes took him down for the first time. And then Dominic Reyes threw a punch on the ground. Jiří dodged it, then instantly got up because he threw the punch. I mean, it was just incredible the ground escape he had during that. And he's just such a powerful person. And one of the most important things I think in this entire fight is both these guys are aggressors. Glover pushed Jan to the outside the entirety of the fight and kept control of the octagon. And Jiří pushed the whole fight. He was in the middle every single time, pushing Dominic Reyes to the outside. These guys are both people that like to take control of the octagon, and that could be really interesting because that could make Glover shoot more, but it also could make Jiří start throwing some uppercuts and eventually catch him when he shoots. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I think in the first couple of minutes of the round, they're both going to be kind of fighting for the middle, but I think Glover will eventually gain the middle during the fight because I think Jiří will be scared of that takedown. So I think Glover will take the middle of the octagon pretty much after a minute or two. I mean, going back to Jiří's pros, I mean, he'll stand toe-to-toe with you. He'll push you to the outside, and he'll start throwing. He's not as scared to get inside and throw with the other guy. I mean, that's something that's really scary when you're a guy like Glover. I mean, if you get caught with one good punch from him, you're basically done for. I mean, and the thing is, Jiří can take big shots too. He got cracked so many times against Dominic Reyes, yet he still was throwing absolute missiles every single time. And I think he can take Glover's punches. I hate to say it, but I think Glover doesn't have that kind of punching power, and I think he'll be able to take it. But going to the cons of Jiří's last fight, I mean, something I noticed very important is while he's on the tops of his toes, when Dominic would throw a right hand, he would back up, and since he's on his toes, he would obviously push himself a little bit forward after he dodged the punch, because if you're backing up and you're on your toes, you're bound to move forward, and he would drop his hands, and he eventually got caught by Dominic Reyes, and he would move forward, and if Glover can just catch him with that cross that he hit Jan with, I think that could really lead to something. He's just got to be careful of moving forward after a punch is thrown. I think that's where he's most vulnerable, but we'll see what happens with that. I mean, Jiří did get taken down. I mean, it wasn't a crazy fast takedown. Kind of looked like he didn't have the best takedown defense, but I'm sure after a year off, he really improved that with his camp. This could be looked at as a con or a pro or whatever, but he chases the finish. That can be a good and bad thing, but I think it's a bad thing specifically against Glover, because I think if he chases the finish, Glover's going to get him with the takedown and then could win the round from there. I mean, gosh, it's just such an interesting matchup because you got a guy like Jiří who will just throw and knock you out with one punch. I mean, his last 5 fights were all knockouts. I mean, he's just scary. But you got a guy like Glover, I mean, he will push you to the outside of the cage and he will get that single leg or that double leg and he'll get you down and he'll control the entire fight. I mean, and that's for sure. You don't want to lose three rounds and you have 12 minutes of control time, then you're obviously going to lose the fight. I mean, Jiří's just got to be careful, and I think that's why he'll give up the middle of the octagon to Glover. And if he doesn't give the middle of the octagon up to Glover, then it could go either way, really. I think if Jiří gains the middle of the octagon, I think Jiří will catch him with an overhand. But I think if Glover gets it, I think Glover will get a takedown, and then he'll control the next couple of rounds. In my opinion, it's all about who gets the middle of the octagon within the first round, and I think Glover will get it, but I still think Jiří could eventually catch him, even with being on the outside of the octagon, because, as I was saying, these guys were both the aggressors in their last fight. I mean, Jiří was pushing Reyes to the outside the whole time, and Glover was pushing Jan to the whole side and the outside. So, it's really going to be an interesting fight. As this is the first episode, I'm just kind of learning. I could easily get corrected, but make sure you subscribe and comment below and let me know what you guys think or anything like that. To anyone who's new, I hope you join me along this journey of figuring all this stuff out and really having fun with it. So after all the assessments I just made, it's time for an official prediction. After looking at both sides and what they can do, I've come up with the official prediction that Jiří Procházka will win round 1 by knockout. And the reason I think this is, I think Glover's going to take the middle of the octagon, and I think he's going to shoot for the outside of the cage, and Jiří's going to actually dodge it, and I think Jiří will come in with the overhand and get him. But I think if Jiří gets the middle of the octagon, it's over from there. I think Glover will get shattered if Jiří takes the middle of the octagon. But if Glover gets it, he has a chance, but I still think Jiří's going to win it. So that is my official prediction. Jiří to win, but specific prediction, Jiří Procházka, round 1 knockout. So I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll be doing more fights in the future. So feel free to come along with the ride with me, and I'll see you guys in the next fight.